right, so at this point I haven't had a chance to look at what you did for week 6 because I'm learned together because I'm recording a little ahead of time. But what you're going to do for this week is a continuation of the same code that we did for week 6, okay? So, and the idea was that you actually come up with something different than what you're using in your develop it work. So you're going to put an array in a loop. So I'll show you what I did. And then you'll give us a link. You'll publish this out to your public directory and give us a link. And then you can write something about this and something about, this is the week. So you're in the week now, where it's the week before the due date for the Develop It 2. I've created at least at this point one, and there'll probably be another one coming just to talk about the code I wrote and the requirements. But it's time for you to, give some time and some thought to what the Develop It 2 requires, and then ask any questions, right? And set up your appointments with me during this week. So any questions would be great to be asked. That way everybody gets the benefit of that, right? And if I see them, even if I see one or two, I'll cover them in the attendance for at the end of this week. Okay, so I'll show you what I did for the work from last time. So last time I did a simple step object with a method on it to add, to call the method and pass in steps. So what I decided to do here, and actually I ended up taking off the date. Okay, so just to be clear, I added a steps log, and that would be my array. And then add daily steps to log, where you pass in the steps, and then you would push that into the array, so that all you have here is a number being pushed into this array for each of the array items. So because the thing is, I just thought, well, you know what, I want to keep this fairly simple just because I want you to get more experience with writing this code. And then I just did a return statement with some information, right? So here's the, I just realized something. One thing I should, I did a return, that's right, I did, and then it just logged that out. Okay, so I just added some entries into my array, right? So every time I ran that. And then I had another method, and that's what I want, is at least one array and two methods here, right? You might want more to then get the monthly steps total. So the one thing, and as you do this stuff, know that, yeah, this is not, if you were doing this in the real world, there's much more you'd want to do. You'd have to have a way of basically based on the date, then somehow cutting off or changing, because the truth is, with the data that we're looking at right now, this is not persistent data. And what that means is that when you're running this code, the next time you run it, no matter what you're entering here, nothing gets saved, right? So, matter of fact, this Develop It will be the last, not the last, but the next Develop It will actually be in the browser. And then I believe in that one or the next one, he actually introduces local storage so that in your program you can store and have things to be retrievable. But what we're doing up to this point is not, and I say that because, again, if this was a real world app, we would need to have a bit more in here. But because we're just playing around, we can kind of simulate the idea that, yeah, I know this is going to be, these are just numbers passed in. I would have to have in a real world app some type of way to capture the month and be able to total the month up. And most likely, and that's what you saw I had in here before, was a date, right? But I decided the other thing was when I went to get my monthly steps total, I wanted to actually just do a for each loop because in my code I did a for loop, and it'd just be fun for me to have an example of both, because these, there are other loops, but these are the two most common. And loops, you don't have to have them sitting inside of a method or inside of an object. You can obviously run them outside, but everything we've done to this point, all the logic and all the the data has been kept either in a function, should have been kept in a function or in a method, right? And then we call these things inside. So in this case, I just set up a total, and then I said this step log. So the step log is a function, and by this time, because we've run these items, we have some data in there. And then for each item, so it's going to look at each item in the array, and it's going to, then each item is a log entry. Now I named this variable, and I like naming this variable what it is because it helps it be more readable. And then I said this total is plus equals, so whatever the total is plus the log entry, right? So we're just accumulating that total, and then I return the total to here, right? And so then I let step count by equal my steps get monthly total, and then your monthly step is, right? And then I just log that out. So when I run it, you can see I already did, but what I get is those each individual console log from my steps, the object method, and then passing in that number into the arguments for the function. So this is what I want you to do, is to take this program you wrote, this code you wrote for last time, and add these two key functions, which is an array somewhere in here and a for loop somewhere in here, right? So because the more you code this, the better it gets, right? The more you do it, the better it is. And again, I haven't checked what work you've done, but hopefully you've chosen something different than your developers, just because the more times you have to think of an item and you actually create that code, that connection between thought of concept and code, the more you work that muscle, the easier it will get. Okay, hope this helps you out. And so in this week, I will be seeing some of you. I know I will, if I haven't already before this week. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.